Inclusivity. Ms. Shields is the Therapeutic Recreation Program Specialist for Headquarters Marine Corps, Semper Fit and Exchange Service Division. She is a licensed and certified recreational therapist, certified park and recreational professional, and holds a Master's of Arts in Psychology. Her current position with the United States Marine Corps keeps her busy with inclusion policy writing, reasonable accommodation, facility and program access, providing training to the field, and that very popular line, other duties as assigned. Inclusion. Many of you have heard of this, but have you never been quite sure what the word really means and the concepts behind it? Inclusion is a concept, a culture, a way of running your business, store, exchange, your parks and recreation department, etc. Inclusion is the active engagement of people with disabilities or injuries, offering the same choices to everyone, where the quality of the activities and services are the exact same and everyone has the same experience. Who do you provide your services? Who's your patron? Who is your customer? Do you provide your services and programs in a way that respects the dignity and independence of people with disabilities? Do your rules and policies indirectly exclude or make it difficult for an individual with a disability to enjoy your goods or services? For example, does your store or restaurant have a no pet policy, but no policy on service animals? Your frontline staff has been trained to not allow animals into the store. So when a patron with a service animal enters your store or restaurant, they're turned away because your frontline staff members have been trained to do so. We have all read about this in our local newspapers or heard stories on the news of this very thing happening. Nearly 1 in 5 people have a disability in the U.S., according to the Census Bureau. With the population aging and the likelihood of having a disability increasing with age, the growth in the number of people with disabilities also rises. These individuals have money to spend, products to buy, and the need for various services. With more than $200 billion in discretionary spending, I would like a piece of this pie. What makes your store, product, or service more appealing to them? Remember, they have money to spend. It's also the law. There are numerous laws that protect the rights of individuals with disabilities. Being ignorant of the laws will not hold up in a court of law and makes your service or product less appealing. Remember, people have money to spend. Bookmark the ADA.gov website. It's a great place to find out information on all disability-related laws, supplemental information, checklists that will make your job easier. No need to recreate the wheel. Get on their court ruling email blast. You'll recognize the names of the businesses that have been found at fault. Learn from their mistakes. Be proactive, not reactive. The information may be new to you, but it's not new information. Take some time to educate yourself. These are simple concepts, not rocket science. Do not overthink it, just do it. Let's dive into some of the details. Inclusion takes 2 forms of access, physical access and program access. Physical access is very black and white. Your building, facilities, and grounds. Standards are straightforward and measurable. Program access is gray, more abstract and conceptual. These 2 areas are often blended. For example, you've restriped your parking lot, proper numbers, measurement, signage, and closest to accessible routes leading to the building. This is your physical access. However, you've noticed individuals without a handicap placard or handicap plate parking the accessible spots. So, you include in your orientation training with all staff the procedures in which they report patrons who are abusing the parking spaces. You provide scripts, talking points, and the number of the local police department. You've empowered your staff to make a difference in a polite and respectful way. Physical access is usually more well known than program access. Facility access is often wrapped up in a neat manual, a checklist. However, just because something looks accessible does not mean that it is accessible. Also, who you think should know, like contractors and maintenance staff, they often do not know. You have to ask the questions and do your own research during the planning phase of construction or renovation. And you have to hold your ground when it's not done properly. If not, retrofitting can be costly and you can easily lose patronage. Who has heard the horror stories? The pouring of a ramp 3 times, the accessible route to nowhere, or the all-tile shower stall with the transfer wall on the wrong side that needs to be ripped out. The next several slides are going to look briefly on some of the most common errors, omissions, and areas to start looking at. Please note this is not a comprehensive list, just some common mistakes. Purchase a few items, literally a toolkit, tape measure, digital balance, door gauge, and a checklist. Play with and practice with these items before you do an audit. Also, find a checklist that's at your skill level or the skill level of your employees. Be consistent with the checklist that you choose. This will make roll-up reports and trend reporting easy to develop. You can also hire a contract company to conduct your audits. However, facility access does not stop after an audit. It's a constant process. Buildings are repurposed. Equipment and furniture tend to grow legs and move about. If you work for the government entity, most likely your facilities had 10 different purposes before you became the tenant. Some of the most common errors and omissions in new construction and alterations are seen in parking. The exterior access route, doors, push and pull is too heavy and the wrong hardware, bathrooms, visual alarms, especially in older buildings, restaurants, and lodging. Your facilities can still be visually pleasing, appealing, follow branding guidelines, and meet the standards for accessibility. We have all seen accessible parking spaces at our favorite stores. Oftentimes, there's not the correct number of spaces or an incorrect configuration. Drive your lots. Look at the ease of access for all. Do not go overboard. More is not always best, unless there's a patron need that you have identified. You can always designate additional spots during special events. So, you have the correct number of spaces at the correct dimensions, your signs are uniform, but you failed to label your van accessible space. Think of this as bragging. A van accessible space must be in place. If there is no van accessible space, an individual who uses a van equipped with wheelchair lifts will not have enough space to lower the lift and get out of the vehicle. Van accessible spaces must also have signage that designate it as van accessible. I've seen a young Marine wife who utilizes a wheelchair park and unload an infant and toddler on a sloped accessible parking lot. She was able to creatively get from her chair out of the passenger seat, transfer, unload the toddler, and then the infant from the straps of the child seat. Why would someone think that a sloped accessible parking spot was appropriate? First of all, it was most likely never even thought of, and in the planning of the parking lot, no one reinforced the standards or ensured that the contractor knew what he or she was doing. Everyone has a part in accessibility. This young woman made it happen, but we failed her. In addition, would this young lady need to pull down changing tables in the bathroom at a height where she can change her kids? Did you ever consider this when installing changing tables in your public restrooms? The pull-down baby changing tables is a service you offer to patrons. People with disabilities have children too. Parking. If there is no accessible route from the accessible parking to the accessible entrance, a patron utilizing a wheelchair, scooter, or walker has no way to get in and may have to use roadways or a vehicular route, which can be dangerous. Accessible routes need to be looked at from all points of possible transport. Take a look at this picture. The facility has pickup, drop-off points, public transportation pubs, and accessible parking points. Look at the global picture. Walk your route, see what may work on paper, may not be practical and functional. All door hardware needs to be operable with a closed fist. So, when I'm conducting a facility audit, I close my right hand and try to open doors with a closed grip. Think about the last time you saw a young child tugging at a door to get it open. They're using all their weight, hanging on the door with both hands and pulling with all their might. Now imagine an adult who has just finished making their purchase at your store and needs to use the bathroom before leaving your store. This patron had a stroke several months ago and has weakness in one side of their body. He or she is trying to open the bathroom door with old hardware, inaccessible hardware. Their good arm is carrying their purchases and card keys. You see them struggling, juggling their bags, and they're finally able to wedge their foot between the door and frame, forcing the door open just enough to get in. The picture is not pretty. If you are thinking that someone will be around to help them, please do not assume that one of your staff will be around or even have the awareness to think to ask if they would like assistance. This particular patron may not want anyone's assistance. As humans, most of us seek independence. Life does not slow down during or after injury or illness, or when you have a disability. You can think of accessibility as making life easier for everyone. You and I have all benefited from accessibility features. Also, you can still have stylish modern hardware and access. Doors. How many of us can walk around our facilities and find boxes being stored behind a door, lockers near the bathroom door, or furniture that is within maneuvering clearance space of our doorways? These doorways include your only employee areas as well. Do not use that extra space in your bathrooms to store supplies. The extra room was most likely for access purposes. An individual utilizing a wheelchair or walker needs a clear level area in front of and adjacent to the door that provides a place to maneuver. Bathrooms. If bathrooms, locker rooms, bathing rooms are provided, even those for your employees need to comply. When people with disabilities are restricted to a limited number of toilets, they will often have to travel a long distance to the accessible bathroom, locker room, or bathing room, while others can use any. Signage is important here also. Do your bathrooms have signage indicating the universal accessibility sign? Clearance space under the counter of the sinks must be provided. Imagine that you're sitting in a wheelchair and you go to reach for the faucet control, soap dispenser, etc. Your legs go under the counter so that you can reach everything. If there are cabinets or a false wall, the patron cannot reach anything. Look under all your sinks for me. Do you have pipe covers on the plumbing elements? Imagine your legs coming in contact with steel pipes that may bruise, cut, or even burn your skin. Pipes heat up when warm, hot water has gone through them. When you've decreased sensation in your legs, your skin can be in contact with these hot pipes, burning your skin, and you have no idea it's happening. Cover all the plumbing elements under your sinks. It's an easy fix. How many of us operate in very old buildings and all you see are the alarms that are round like bells without the strobe visual indicator? If your business was to have a fire, would somebody who's deaf or have earbuds in place be able to safely exit your facility? We do not leave these things to chance. Have you asked if the system can be retrofitted? Do not assume that someone else has already asked the question. Since we're on the topic of fire alarms, are your fire exit routes accessible? I'm seeing a trend where our planned routes take our patrons through overgrown grass, up and down unleveled ground, around the world, and congregate in the clearing and the trees behind the building. I hope you're chuckling, because this is a reality many times. So now what? In your procedural manuals and staff training, do your inclusion directly and guidance on how your staff is going to safely get a patron with, let's say, a mobility disability safely out of the building? What if they're utilizing one of your courtesy electric wheelchairs and are morbidly obese? You know the chair will tip if they take it on that sloping mess behind your building. I know the example may seem a bit extreme, but the purpose is to get you to think. Think outside your bubble, outside your abilities, and see your world differently. I assure you, after this presentation and your continued efforts to educate yourself, you will start seeing access through a whole new lens. You will find yourself assessing the environment around you, reviewing policies, and taking notice of marketing techniques even when not at work. You will want to support the companies that have taken steps to welcome all. People who use wheelchairs or even have a mobility disability cannot always get to the counter to purchase and pick up food. If they can get into the queuing area, they often get trapped. Remember, they need an area to turn around as well. Stanchions are being used to herd us like cattle. I get it, traffic control. However, are these directed pathways wide enough? All self-service shelves and dispensing devices need to be accessible as well. Many of you have developed diagrams and pictures that are provided to your staff for proper setting. When this guidance was developed, was reaching range and access taken into consideration? We can have both visually appealing and fully functional self-service areas. Beds, bathrooms, closets, heating, air conditioning and draper controls, lamps and light switches, telephones, computer outlets, mirrors, televisions, balconies, and other room features. These all need to be accessible. Imagine you're the owner of a large hotel that has more than 50 rooms. One of your accessible rooms has a roll-in shower, but you failed to provide a fold-down seat, and your guests thought it was a great idea to use the room furniture in the shower. Desk chair with rollers in the shower? What type of safety concerns pop into your head? Transfer. The desk chair just took a shower also. It's very common to come upon bathroom doors that are narrower than 32 inches. You can have the best accessible bathroom set up in town, but your guests may not be able to get through the doorway. Poor planning and design happens all the time. For your homework, check out the bathroom doorways of your own home. Notice a trend? Yep. Narrow bathroom door frames. If you have elderly parents that may end up living with you or plan on aging in your current home, you're most likely going to encounter a problem getting in and out of that bathroom with a mobility device. Width of doorways matters. If you are overwhelmed at this point, please do not be. You have to break this out into manageable steps. Conduct a program access test. The program access test concept comes from the 1973 Rehabilitation Act statute. Within the statute, the program access test for existing facilities applies. In its simplest sense, an organization or business with a unique facility, one of a kind, such as one beach, will have to make that beach accessible. An organization or business with two beaches should evaluate each, the amenities at each, the location of each, and then select the number necessary to make a beach available for all. A one of three approach is recommended for similar sites. For example, if there are 7 fitness centers, not all need to be compliant, but making one compliant is inadequate. Using the one of three approach and selecting 2 or 3 of the 7 seems reasonable and practical. Audit each of the facilities, along with the policies, and then place the deficiencies in a 3-year plan. You're formulating your game plan at this point. For example, getting a ramp for the front entrance of your old theater may take 2 years. May have to be placed in capital construction project schedule system. Take the steps today to set your organization up for success tomorrow. You do not want to be looking at a patron who utilizes a wheelchair at the bottom of your steps, waiting to pay for a ticket to see the show, and you have no way to get them into your building. The previous slides only addressed a small fraction of the standards that the law requires for physical access. Again, please do not let this topic overwhelm you. I learn something new every time I do a practice audit, read a company's policy, or patronize a new business. Conduct a program access test, audit your facilities, draft your plan, and follow through. The key in most of this is following through. Check on work orders, ask questions, and do not assume it's being taken care of. Now let's move on to program access. Program access is gray in nature, more abstract, and conceptual. This is where thought and creativity often comes into play. Some of the best solutions will come from your customers and/or your front-end staff. You do not have to have all the answers. Program access encompasses topics such as person-first language, an individual is a person first, not their disability. Welcoming statements. Do you have one? Do you know what a welcoming statement is? I like to say a welcoming statement is an invitation, often giving an individual with a disability the permission to participate in your program, to know they would be welcome prior to arriving. Registration and reservation forms. Do you have a line asking if they need reasonable accommodation? Your staff will need to follow up on these requests prior to their arrival. Do you have a specific contact person that a customer can reach to ask questions or voice concerns? Marketing. Many of you are familiar with including pictures of customers from all different ethnic backgrounds. What about individuals with disabilities? Leverage social media, set your organization apart from others, and shine. Inclusion committees can consist of staff and/or patrons with disabilities. And finally, smart practices. These are tips, tricks, and actions that you take because it's the right thing to do, going beyond the law. How do you want to be labeled? Are you a man with a limp from a high school baseball injury? Or a respected professional who has a sense of humor and supports his employees? Everybody wants to be accepted and appreciated for who they are. All of our customers want to feel valued for who they are. Focus should be on a person's abilities, not disabilities. A person with a disability has more in common with all of us than different. When modifying the environment or program activity, it's best to under-modify and then progressively adapt or change processes until the individual is independent or as close to independent as possible. This will look different for every person. Ask questions if you're unsure. A positive attitude and approach will be needed to be modeled by you and everyone else in your organization. This is often referred to as attitudinal access. It's the difference between a person with a disability just being in the room versus actually being a part of and participating with the group. Changes in attitude can be instrumental in promoting complete inclusion. Person-first language is to avoid perceived and subconscious dehumanization. It's a way to avoid biases when discussing people with disabilities. Think of it as language etiquette. We all like to think of ourselves as normal. A welcoming statement lets everyone know they're welcomed at your hotel, water park, mall, recreation center, store, etc., regardless of a disability they may or may not have. For some, the welcoming statement gives permission. Permission to take part in the program or to visit your business. Think of it as your company organization installing a sense of value and respect before a patron enters your facility or utilizes your services. Just as branding has a huge impact, these short statements have just as much impact. Think of it as a tagline, a simple line at the bottom of your flyer, brochure, or on your website. It's a subtle way of expressing acceptance of differences among everyone. Please avoid the statements that say things like, "We fully embrace the ADA." This can be interpreted wrong. So the only reason is because of the law? This may in turn give the wrong impression. Do you have a reasonable accommodation question on your registration forms? Stating a time frame is very important, as it sets expectations and gives you and your staff ample time to plan. Let's say a patron is deaf and is requesting a sign language interpreter. Do you know the contact information for local providers, availability, required lead times, typical rates, etc.? Many of us do not until we panic, scramble to fill a need when we receive a call 2 days before the event. Also, remember you cannot charge the patron for this service. You will have to fit it into your budget. Set yourself and your staff up for success in these types of situations. Remember, be proactive, not reactive. In addition, going back to lodging for a minute, are accessible guest rooms suites held for possible use by persons with disability until all of the rooms in the same price category have been rented? Is this your policy? Does the lodging facility allow persons with disabilities to use service animals without imposing any extra charges or conditions? In guest rooms and suites and all public areas of the facility, i.e. restaurants, bars, facility grounds, van shuttle buses, and other areas for meetings and recreation? Is this in your policy? If not, will your front-end staff accidentally turn a customer away, and are you now in damage control because your hotel is in the local newspaper for the wrong reasons? Do you list the number of accessible rooms on your website? Do you provide pictures? Does your staff ask is an accessible room needed when taking a reservation? Does your online reservation system allow your guests to request an accessible room? Please be proactive. Your facility accessibility is never complete. You must always keep assessing it. Does your organization need a designated point person? Provide the specific name or job title of the staff member, including their contact information that a patron can contact to ask questions, request reasonable accommodation, and report complaints. You know how frustrating it is when you have to talk to 5 different people in 5 different departments located in 5 different countries before getting to the right person. This individual needs to have the desire to take on the role. Assigning these duties to a random person as collateral duties will not get your organization results. This person must be willing to be a role model, receive disability awareness training, and allowed to attend trainings. They must have strong follow-up skills, mental and organizational flexibility. And most of all, they must feel empowered and be empowered to make changes. You have welcomed, you have asked, and you have identified need. Now what? Follow up with the patron, ask questions, solicit suggestions. I say solicit suggestions because their solution may be very simple, whereas your instinct is to most likely change too much. Remember, less is best. Under-modifying is preferable to over-modifying. Do not change the fundamental purpose or service of the same experience. Environmental are things like lighting, music, and doors. Equipment may be adding some cheap pipe foam to build up a paintbrush brush for a patron with poor grip strength. Equipment can also include specific adaptive equipment. In programming, think about breaks and timing. Human. This can be the buddy system and or the staffing ratio. Monitor. Look and listen. Make sure everyone is on the same page. If needed, make adjustments along the way. Evaluate. Get feedback formally and informally. What can we do better next time? If all avenues have been attempted, and the results have turned out disastrous, then refer. Refer to another program or service provider that can meet their needs. Do not leave your patron hanging. Provide concrete names, locations, and contact information. Refer. Identify when a situation has maxed out your staff's expertise, identify major risk and safety concerns, or a patron does not meet the essential requirements for participation. Utilizing a team approach can be helpful during this step, as it will not appear to be a personal decision, and a variety of resources can be provided. These resources can be within your organization, outside your organization, or even through a partnership. Post your welcoming statement and POC on your websites, Facebook pages, tweet it on set intervals. Include pictures or individuals with disabilities in your marketing materials. Do not use outdated photos. Photos should be modern and reflect the same style and format as the other photos. Individuals with disabilities utilize the web to plan routes, schedule time needed to get access to your building, learn where your accessible bathrooms are, gauge how receptive your staff will be. Technology is allowing more and more people to get connected and stay connected. When was the last time you combined a website prior to attending an event or going to eat in a particular restaurant? I do it all the time. I want to figure out how much time I will need to allow to arrive on time. Do I have to fight for street parking, or is there a lot in the back of the building? Is the art class on the second floor? If so, is there an elevator, or will I have to lug my art supplies up a flight of stairs? Facility access and program access make all of our lives easier and our experiences more enjoyable. I am more likely to be a satisfied customer in return. In today's times, a customer experience starts way before they enter your facility, as their first visit was your website, Facebook page, and or a tweet. Leverage social media to get the word out that you welcome all. Inclusion committees can be made up of all different people. Some organizations' inclusion committees are made up of employees from different program areas. Others solicit the assistance of patrons with disabilities with an employee who takes the lead. Or a committee can be a combination of both employees and patrons with disabilities. You set the makeup of your committee. Some years you may need the input of your patrons with disabilities as you develop new services and or create a budget for the year. The very people who need the accommodation will be the ones who can suggest the most simplistic solutions and usually the least expensive. Smart practices are also known as best practices. This is taking the steps to go beyond the law or expectation. This is doing the right thing to meet the needs of your patron, customer, and community. The solutions can be universal, often creative, or even very specific to meet the needs of your patron population. Making changes to policy that sets precedent, going beyond the required facility accessibility requirements, and or making an exception. Hitting the target, even when it's a moving target. Just make it happen. Educate yourself and share that information with everyone, as everyone is a stakeholder. Form an inclusion committee. Take some of the load off of you. And remember, you don't have to do all the answers. Oftentimes, your patrons and frontline staff have the best solutions. Develop an organizational-wide welcome statement. A reasonable accommodation question to head off surprises. Also, review and update your policies. Develop both an internal and external marketing plan. Follow up on all actions, requests, and especially work orders. Persistence with patience will take you and your organization far. Never settle just because it's easier. Remember, inclusion is the active engagement of people with disabilities or injuries, same choices with the same offerings of quality activities and services, having the same experience. Every little change makes a big difference in the quality of our lives. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. I do not always have all the answers, but can provide resources, suggestions, and lessons learned. Thank you for participating in this webinar, and remember, everyone is a change agent in their respective organizations.